Hello and welcome to this crochet tutorial where I'm going to show you how to make this pot with the snake going through it. It was an inspiration from a picture that I saw on Pinterest, and if I could find the designer, I would love to give credit to them. It was done with a clay pot. So I decided to do mine with crochet. And here are the results. So if you would like to make one for yourself, I encourage you to stay with me and let's go ahead and make this. We will be using crocheted thread, doubled, and crocheted 4-ply acrylic yarn, worsted weight, doubled. A very simple process, most all done with half double crochet. So come join me and let's make this snake in a pot together. Let's start off with the materials that we're going to be using. What you see here is not all of the materials. This is the thread that I've used to make the snake. I used two colors to blend. This one is a burgundy and this is a red, size 10 crocheted thread. We have here a yellow and an orange, also size 10. We have a 2.75 millimeter hook. This will be used for using the thread to make the snake. We have a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook that will be for using the yarn. I have two stitch markers here, a pair of scissors, and here's the picture for the inspiration that I had from Pinterest. It was a clay pot with a snake going through it. Let me show you next what yarn we will be using. Most of you who follow me know that I love Red Heart Super Saver yarn. I love the colors, I love the feel, and I love the durability of it. It does really great with the crochet products that I'd like to create. So here I have bright yellow. Now because of this color is what I already had, and I love the way that this color combined with the yellow. This is from Michael's, the Impeccable Loops and Thread brand. This one is a light green and it's called Grass. And when we join the two together, it gives that color that I'm looking for. So the idea behind the making of this pot and the snake is to learn how to blend colors together to get a different color than what this extremely bright yellow and this medium bright green can provide. And I come up with what I thought was a beautiful combination. If you choose to try something else, say like a tan and a beige, I encourage you to do this. But these are the two colors that we're going to be using. We're going to join them together and making of the pot. So let's begin. Since we will be using the majority of this yarn, I encourage you to do one of two things. You can join it and make a ball with it, or you can set the skeins side by side and pull them both out as you need them when creating the pot. The choice is yours, whichever you choose to do. So to begin, we're going to start off with a magic circle. Take it and crisscross it over your fingers. Sometimes this can be considered cumbersome. So we're going to go under that first loop, pull the second one through, and then we're going to go back to our working yarn and finish it as if we're creating a chain stitch. Make that first chain stitch onto our loop a little snug, like so. Okay, and then enlarge that chain just a little bit, and into our ring, also going over our tails, we're going to do 8 half double crochets. So to do a half double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the center of the ring and pull up a loop, you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 of them. It kind of makes it as if it was a single crochet, but just a little bit taller. And that's what we're looking for. So continue on. We need 7 more. Remember, we're trying to create a total of 8 half double crochets on our magic circle ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, double check to make sure that you have 8. To do that, you can see our first one right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sometimes your foundation row is the most important row because it sets how everything turns out in the long run, and you don't want to have to pull it apart. Okay, so to tighten our ring, we have this loose right here. Take your finger and thumb, pinch them, take the tail, pull it. Okay, if you need to pull one strand at a time, do that. Okay, do not cut this tail. Okay, we'll weave it in later. Now remember that first loop we left long? We're going to place a slip stitch into that. So take your hook and go under both parts of that V. You see there's 2. Pull your yarn through and then continue to pull through the loop on your hook. And we've completed our slip stitch. And now we have our first round done. Chain 1. And in the same stitch that we did our slip stitch, we're going to place 2 half double crochets. It may seem a little tight, but usually that very first foundation row is usually that way. So here's 1 and 2. Each one of these stitches represents the top of the half double crochet. We have 7 left. We need a total of 16 half double crochets for this row, so you're going to place 2 half double crochets in each one of these stitches around. Make sure you count that you have 16. When you do, stop and we'll move on to the next step. So let's do the second one. Okay, I've completed 4. I'm going to encourage you to complete the rest of the row, and I'll meet you there. So we have 16 half double crochets. Okay, right here where our stitch is, we want to come up. This little tiny one is where we chained, so we're going to skip that chain, and right to the top of the stitch, we're going to do our slip stitch. So bring our hook through that stitch, pull the yarn through the loop, and then through the loop on the hook, and that completes our circle. Chain 1. In the same stitch, 1 half double crochet. Okay, let's stop there. Let's go ahead and place our stitch marker. This will help remind us where our row starts and stops at. Okay, so we have 1. In our next stitch, we're going to place 2. The 2 is known as an increase. So here's 1 and 2. Our repeat for this row is 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, and into the next stitch an increase, which is 2 half double crochets. Continue around with this repeat of 1 half double crochet and 2 half double crochets around until you get to the end of your row, which will be right here. This stitch right here was your slip stitch, and here's your chain. We will want to slip stitch to where our stitch marker is at, and that will complete our row. Continue around, and you should have a total of 24 stitches. I'll meet you there. Now, as you can see here, I've already slip stitched close my row, so I can go ahead and take out my stitch marker. Let's chain 1, and in the same stitch of where our slip stitch is, 1 half double crochet. Okay, let's place our stitch marker back into the top of that stitch. Okay, so for this row repeat, we're going to do 1 single half double crochet, and into the next stitch 1 single half double crochet. The next stitch will be our increase, so we'll place 2 half double crochets. My yarn ball just fell. Okay, so our repeat here is 1, 1, and then 2. This will cover over 3 stitches and give us a total of 4 stitches. So let's do our repeat one more time. 1 half double crochet in one stitch. Our next stitch, 1 half double crochet, and in the next stitch, our increase of 2 half double crochets. Okay, continue this around until you get to the end of the row, where you will end with 2 half double crochets, and then you can slip stitch into the top of the half double crochet of the row we just started. Go ahead and I'll meet you there. You should have a total of 32 stitches. To continue on to our next row, chain 1. Let's take out our stitch marker, and we're going to increase it to 3 singles and an increase. So into the same stitch that we did our slip stitch, 1 half double crochet. Let's place our stitch. A lot of tongue twisters tonight. Let's replace our stitch marker into the top of the stitch. So we got 1. In the next stitch, 1 half double crochet, and into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet. Okay, so we have 3 stitches with 1 each half double crochet. And into the next stitch, our increase of 2 half double crochets. Okay, so you notice that when we first started, we had 2 in each stitch. Then we went 1. The next row we had 2. This row we have 3 single half double crochets with our increase. You also notice too that our increases do manage to fit on top of the increase of the previous row. All right, so let's continue on. We have a single into the next stitch, a single, which is always our half double crochets. We have 1 more half double crochet as a single, and then an increase. So I'm going to encourage you to continue this all the way around till you get to the end of the row, where you will slip stitch into the top of that first stitch, and you should have a total of 40 stitches. And I'll meet you right here. Our little circle's getting kind of big here, huh? Okay, so this is the bottom of our pot. So let's take out our stitch marker. And we're going to chain one. Now, are some of you familiar with the back stitch or back loop? No, the back post single crochet. What we want to do is we want the chain to show up on the outside. So to do a back loop single crochet, we're going to come in from behind and we're going to go across just like this. Let me show you again. We're just going to go underneath. We're not going to go around the post. A lot of people know them as back, or the post. We're not going to do the post. When you have your stitching, you have your top stitch here, and then you have that one right there in the middle that helps join the stitching together. We're going to go right here in the center. Okay? So we're going to go just underneath the V look on the top. Okay, come in from the back and go to the back on the next, right there. Okay, and we're going to draw a loop through both of them and bring a loop up. So we'll have 2 loops on our hook. And then yarn over through both of those loops on the hook. To move on to the next one, the one that we went through is the same one we're going to go in through again. So we're going to go in, we're going to go across to the next one, and pull the yarn through. So we're going to come it through the front and into the back. So we have our 2 loops here, and we're going to go the yarn over and through both loops on the hook. We want to keep this row kind of loose, not too loose, but you don't want your regular tension. You just want it a little bit loose, because this is going to help set the angle for it to come up on the sides. Okay, so let's go in through that one we just came out. We're going to go in, we're going to go across. So you can see how this stitch here and this stitch, because we want this back part of the stitch here. I want to pull it through, yarn over, pull it through both of those holes there, yarn over, and complete your single crochet stitch. Okay, so let's do it again. When you get done with this row, you should have 40 single crochet or back post single crochets. I call them back loop because we're not really going through the post. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like. See how the side is starting to come up? That's what we want it to do. Okay, let me pull it a little closer to the camera. And it automatically gives it another direction that we're going. So continue around, take your time, don't make it tight. If you made it tight, I'm going to have to encourage you to take it apart. You want this a little bit looser than your tension. I know I just said that, but it is important that you keep it a little looser than your regular tension. Okay, and you can count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I've done so far. So go ahead and go all the way around. When you get down here to the end of the row, I'll meet you there. Alright, so I've gotten to the end of my row, and you'll notice that we do have this little lip up here. I encourage you to stretch it around, and that'll help it to lay flat right here. So let's enlarge the loop on our hook and pull the hook out. And this time we're going to tighten up our magic circle. So let's take a tapestry needle, and we're going to go around some more so that our tail doesn't come loose. Okay, so I'm basically going around twice. All right, and then we can take this and cut it. And now we know that it's not going to come apart. So we're going to be continuing on in a spiral. Okay, so our next stitch, we're not going to slip stitch. We're going to continue on right into this. Now you made sure that you had 40 of these back post single crochets. So our next stitch right here is going to be where we're going to place our first half double crochet. Okay, snug up your tension on your yarn, on your hook and around. Okay, you'll see it does all come together, and I would like for you to place around the post right here. This will help you to know the beginning of our row here. Okay, so for this particular row, we're going to just go around one half double crochet in each stitch all the way around until we come back up here to where our post marker is. Now if you feel more comfortable with it in the top stitch, I encourage you to do that then. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be doing it in a spiral. We're not going to be joining with slip stitches and chains. We're not going to do that. So go ahead and do 40 half double crochets around, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. I'm in the last stitch before our stitch marker, so let's pull out our stitch marker and start our next row. Continuing on, we're going to do 4 single half double crochets over the next 4 stitches and 1 increase. So remember, after you do your first stitch, to replace your stitch marker. So here we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here's our increase. Now what this is going to do is to give our pot just that little bit of the beginning of a belly look. Okay, let me show you. Okay, you see how it curves out just a little? That's what we're trying to do. Just trying to get it to curve out just a little, and then of course later on we're going to increase it and bring it back into where it needs to be. So for this row, 4 single half double crochets and then an increase. So continue that all the way around. Your last stitch here should have the increase. I'll meet you there. At the end of this row that we have just completed, you should have 48 half double crochets. So to continue on, let's remove our stitch marker, place 1 half double crochet into that next stitch, and replace our stitch marker. So for this row, all the way around, 1 half double crochet per stitch for a total of 48. I'll meet you at the end of the row. As we can see, our little side is building up nicely, isn't it? Our next row is going to be 5 single half double crochets and then an increase. So here's our first one. Don't forget your stitch marker. I just had a slice of cheese. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then increase. So I'm going to encourage you to do this repeated pattern all the way around till you get to the stitch marker. Remember that your last stitch right here before the stitch marker should have your increase. So go around and I'll meet you there. So as you notice, our bowl or our pot here is starting to curve out some. This is what we want it to do. I forgot to let you know the number of stitches for this row was 54. Moving on to our next row, we're going to be doing 3 rows of one half double crochet per stitch per row. So we want 3 rows of 54 stitches. Here's our first. So I'm going to encourage you to do 3 rows. 1, 2, 3, 1 stitch each, and I'll meet you at the end of the 3rd row. Our pot side's getting taller. So we're going to start decreasing because we curved out. We went up just a little bit. Now we're going to start curving back in. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker. My first stitch is going to be a decrease stitch. So to do a half double crochet decrease, we're going to yarn over into the first stitch, pull up a loop. Okay, so we have 3 loops on our hook already. So we're going to yarn over one more time and pull up a loop in the second stitch. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on our hook. Yarn over. Now aim your hook down and then grab your stitches here with your left hand, pull up with your hook, and that hook will pull the yarn through all of those stitches with no problem. Okay, so there's one decrease. I'll show you how to do that again. Let's place our stitch marker in right here at the top of that stitch. So our next 5 stitches are going to be 1 half double crochet per stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now this is our repeat for this row. Okay, decrease and 5 single half double crochets. So let's do another decrease. Okay, we're going to cover these next 2 stitches. We're going to turn them into 1 stitch. So yarn over, draw up a loop. Okay, see how we pulled this first one? So yarn over your hook again and pull up a loop from the second stitch. Okay, so we'll have 5 loops on our hook. Yarn over, aim your hook down, grab the bottom of your work and pull it through. And then 5 singles. When you get to the end of the row, you will stop with the 5th single of your half double crochets. I'm going to show you one more time for those that may need a 3rd time doing this. Okay, let me see how many singles I got here. So here's our our decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more. All right, so let's do our decrease again. We have these 2 stitches right here. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up another loop. Okay, pinch the bottom, yarn over the hook, aim it down, pull up, and pull it through. All right, and then continue with your 5 singles. Continue around. I'll meet you when you do your 5th single just before that stitch marker. At the end of this row, if you have counted your stitches from your stitch marker around, you should have 48 stitches. So let's move on to our next row. We're going to do something a little different this row. This is the row that's going to have the hole for the snake to go through. So let's do our first half double crochet and replace our stitch marker. Oops. Okay, so we did 1. Let's continue with our single half double crochets for a total of 10. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so to make the hole that we need for our snake to come through, I would like for you to chain 2, 1, 2, and down here we're going to skip 2. So into the 3rd one goes your half double crochet. 1, 2, 3rd one. Now that first half double crochet may be a little tricky because you don't have the tension like you do over here. A chain stitch sometimes can change how your outcome will be. Then continue with your half double crochets around to the end of the row. Okay, and this will be the hole that the snake comes through. For our next row, our first stitch will be the decrease. And then 4 half double crochets. Now when we get to the chain 2 space, I would like to show you what we will do there. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so here's our decrease. All right. 1, 2, 3, and then our 4th one will be on that second chain. 1, 2, okay, here's our first chain. Here's 3, and here's our second chain right here. So to start the next decrease, this stitch right here is our first decrease and then the second stitch. So we're going to pick up that first stitch and then yarn over, pick up the next loop. Okay, so we have a nice little hole right here. Okay, and then 4 singles. Continue with this around, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. I like the way it's curving in already. It's looking good. The stitch count on this row that we just completed was 40. So for this particular row, we're going to do 1 half double crochet per stitch around for a total of 40 half double crochets. Continue on. I'll meet you at the end of the row. We have a few more rows before we finish our pot. This next particular row will be decrease and 3 half double crochets. So let's start off with our decrease. And 3 half double crochets. Continue with this all the way around. Your last stitch will be the 3rd half double crochet. I'll meet you there. Our next row will contain 32 stitches. So we just completed our row with our decrease with 3. That made 32. So our next row will have 32 stitches. So let's take out our stitch marker. And in that first stitch, single crochet. This row will be all single crochet. So let's do 1 single crochet per stitch around for 32 stitches. I'll meet you at the end of the row. So at the end of this row, remove your stitch marker, 2 more single crochet, and then slip stitch into the next stitch. The reason why we're doing that is to make it so that it doesn't have that spiral. We want it to have a finished edge. Then chain 1. Okay, let's place our stitch marker right here for right now. You'll be able to tell the end of your row anyway. So this row, let me pull out my other one that we have here. You see how it has like a little lip right here? Okay. It has a little edge, kind of makes the bowl look like it has a nice little finished edge here. Okay. So what we're going to do is front post half double crochets. So yarn over, take the hook, and go behind the post like this. Bring the yarn over the stitch, pull the yarn through. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over through all 3. Okay? The next stitch, we're going to place 2 front post half double crochets on it. So we'll do the first one, okay, so lift it up just a little bit, and then the second one will go just a little bit below it. Okay, so your yarn will come along the edge of this work. You want to pull up a loop and pull it through all 3. Can you see? We have 2 and 1. We're going to continue with this all the way around. 1 half double crochet, front post half double crochet on the one single crochet, and then on the next single crochet, 2. This will help it to flare out just a little bit. If you put too many, it'll just basically flop down. We want it to give a little lip look. Okay, and then the nice thing is, if you saw it on my demo, you have a nice finished edge on the inside of a chain stitch. So when you look inside, you'll see a nice finished edge. Continue that around. You'll be adding stitches, and I really didn't count it when I made my demo. So it's 1 front post half double crochet, next stitch 2 front post half double crochets. This is your increase. Continue around. I'll meet you at the end of the row. Alrighty, we have one more stitch left before the stitch marker. That should be 2 front post half double crochets. So let's remove this stitch marker and make it easier on ourselves. Okay. Now what we're going to do is what they call the invisible join. So let's take our yarn, maybe 8 to 10 inches, and cut both of them, and then pull the end through, just like this. So our last half double crochet has the yarn coming out. Let's get our tapestry needle. Okay, so right here on our stitch right here, we're going to go through let's fix the tension, got off a little bit, and then we're going to go down through the center as if you were doing the stitch already. So go down through the center of the hole you came out of, and when you look back on it, you can't tell where you really stopped or started. So I'm going to take my ends, and I'm going to come down below that chain stitch look on the inside, come down a few rows, and then I'm going to weave my ends in. Whoops, fell out of my needle here. So to weave my ends in, I like to go over about 4 or 5 stitches, usually, you know, right along where the stitch is on the previous row. So basically the bottom of the stitch. Okay, and then pull it through. And then to lock it in, you want to go over the top of one, because if you go in through that same hole, you ain't going to lock it. It's just going to come right back out. So go over the top of that one, and then go back the same way you came. Make sure your yarn doesn't snag up on this. Okay. Make it smooth, stretch it a little, and then we're done. I know I've crushed it, but it's okay. You'll find that with the double yarn, it does retain its shape real well. Let me fix my camera a little bit. There we go. Remember, I use a GoPro, so I don't have this auto feature that I can change the in and out on, so I'm sorry about that. But you see how we have this little lip here? Of course, anytime you do crochet, sometimes you have to do a little shaping because of, you know, of your handling and stuff like that. So here's our little hole where the snake will come in and out of. And the next thing we're going to do is our snake. Now, at the making of this video, I don't know if I'm going to make it as one continuous video or actually have two videos. So if I do have a second video, it obviously will say video 2. So for right now, we finished our pot. Let's move on to our snake. Now you notice that in the making of our snake, we have obviously separation of colors. We have the orange and yellow, and then we have the red and the burgundy maroon color. All right. I call this like a diamondback snake. It's my design. And I came up with diamondback, so whether a diamondback really looks like that, I don't know. I just added the spots for decoration. Okay, we also have safety eyes. Now, if you also choose, you can use felt, you can use a crochet, you can embroider. I have, these are 10mm safety eyes. Okay, now in the making of my snake for this one, I did not stuff it. I was starting to stuff it, but you could see the white come through, and I didn't want that. But as it curves, it puffs out. So you'll find that you can make this snake without using stuffing. And that's the nice thing about it. So let's move on to our threads before we start our crochet. I cut out a small piece of cardboard, probably 2 inches by 3 inches. I took one of the orange and gold and wrapped it around about 20 or 30 times. Okay, this is how I'm going to carry the separate colors with me instead of having this additional weight. So if you do that, you'll find it'll be a lot easier than having to maneuver these around all the time. Okay, and if you want to make your snake portable, you can do the same thing with the red and the maroon. Just take the same colors and just start wrapping like this. If you do wrap it 20 or 30 or even 40 times, you might have to end up doing it 2 separate times because the snake is approximately 23 inches long. All right, so let's get started. And I think you're going to really have fun with this. It's not as hard as you think it is. A little increases and some decreases. And I think you'll really enjoy making this snake. You can see I decided to put mine on the cardboard. To me, it's just easier. All right, we're going to start off with a magic circle. And we're going to place 4 half double crochets into that magic circle. So here's our magic circle. Let's lift our tail out of the circle here. And you'll notice that my first chain right here is a little larger. This will be so that we can pick up that stitch when we need to on the next row. So let's half double crochet 4 times. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then I'm going to stop and bring my camera up closer. Please note that I do use a GoPro. I don't have these immediate focus features on this little sport camera. It works best for me because I can have it right in front of me without a big camera blocking all my view. This is the reason why I use the GoPro. So let me pause my camera and bring my stitching up closer. So we're going to close this ring just a little bit. So let's take our tail, pinch our work, Don't close it all the way just yet. Okay, so that you have just a little tiny hole right here. I'm trying to make it easier because this is thread. Okay, so yarn over, count back, 1, 2, 3. Here's that chain we start, you know, the first part of the stitch, chain, closing the ring. Make sure you just pick up that V-stitch part. Okay, draw up a loop, and then finish your half double crochet. The beginning of this row is a little tedious, but we can do it. And then go ahead and pinch your work again and pull it tight. We are not going to weave this in. It will. We're going to cut this down, and it'll remain inside the snake head. Okay, so we got one single half double crochet. Okay, we're not going to place a stitch marker just yet, so follow with me. Okay, this is still part of that chain, so we're going to go to this next one. We're going to place 2 half double crochets. This is the nose, so it's going to be a little tight, but we'll get through this with no problem. So here's 1, and in that same stitch, our second half double crochet. Our next stitch just gets 1 half double crochet. I'm trying to make it so you can still see what I'm doing. And then in our next stitch, we'll get 2 half double crochets. So here's 1, and then 2. Okay, so we do have a little spiral going on here. We'll start to turn this inside out in just a few minutes. Okay, a few more stitches we have to do. Oh, another thing, as your color comes up, make sure that it's single, not bulky and uneven with the other one. Okay, so in this continuation, we're going to do 2 singles, half double crochet. So we'll do 1 in this stitch, 1 in the next stitch. You notice how they're starting to curl in, so be careful when you pick up that you don't pick up the stitching from another row. We'll turn it inside out in just a second here. Okay. And in the next stitch, we're going to do an increase. So 2 half double crochets. And then after this, we're going to turn it inside out. So here's 1 and 2. Okay. So let's take and push all that work so that the right side is on the outside. All right. Okay. So I'm not going to cut the tail just yet. We're going to save that for a little bit longer. Okay, so we're working this way. 1 half double crochet, I think I made that one a little bit tighter than I should have. The next stitch, 1 half double crochet, and then an increase in the next stitch. And take your time with it. If you need to pause your video until you can catch up, Trust me, I'm not that fast. Please, you know, do what you need to do. Just don't get confused on where you stopped and started at, because we haven't placed our stitch marker in yet. Okay, we're going to do this one more time. Two single half double crochets in the, you know, the next 2 stitches, 1 each. Okay, and then in the next stitch 2. See, so we had, yeah, 2, 1, 1. Okay, so 2. There we go. So we're starting to get more room to work with. Yay! All right. So let's keep on going. Half double crochet, next stitch, half double crochet, and then into the next stitch 2 half double crochets. For those of you who are counting, we're going to do this for a total of 7 times. So when we're done, we will have a total of 14 stitches, and then we'll start using our stitch marker. But because this is a spiral and thread, it's just going to take a little longer. Okay, so here we are. I did 2 singles and now I'm doing a double. Okay, so if you want to keep on going, we're going to do it a couple more times until when you count back 14 stitches, then you'll know you're at the right amount. So go ahead and do that. We're going to do it a couple more times and then count your stitching. Okay, I've counted my stitches. I have 11 so far, so that means I need to do the single increase 2 more times. So here's I might have to, okay, so how we want to count our stitches now. Here's the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I need to do it one more time. Okay. Single, single, and a double. That should give me 14. Okay, let's double check again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right. So I have 14. And you see how we have a nice little cone here? So I'm going to take my tail, as long as it is, and I'm just going to wrap it around my finger, and I'm going to put it into the nose of our little snake here. That way I don't have to cut it out. Okay. So we're going to continue. We're going to do our first half double crochet. We're going to place a stitch marker on it. We want to do 3 rows of 14 stitches. Okay, so here's number 1. So continue around 1 half double crochet per stitch for 3 rows. Okay, I'll see you in a few minutes, or in the next shot. All right, so I've completed the 3 rows. So I'm going to be placing the eyes in my my snake face here. So I'm going to come down 1, 2, and place, whoops, these little things are so tiny. I'm going to come down 2 rows and place an eye in there. I'm going to count over 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Place the second one in. Whoops, I think I went over 3. Let's go to the 4th one. There we go. Okay. And since we're down low enough, let's put our safety eyes on. Okay, it's past that first lip on there. You see how we have 2 or 3. And there we go. Safety eyes are on. Okay, so we are going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to do a decrease. And we're going to do that all the way around. So let's do, a half double crochet. I'm so used to saying single crochet because I've been doing so much amigurumi lately. So here's a single crochet. There I go again. Double crochet, or half double crochet. I'll get it right. And then a decrease. Now I didn't wrap it. I only wrapped it on the one, and I just pulled up a loop for the second run. With thread, you do things a little different. Everybody has their way of doing decreases. This is mine. Okay, so let's pull it through. And it looks nice. Okay, so half double crochet and decrease all the way around till you come to your stitch marker again, and I will meet you there. So we've decreased it down to 7 stitches. Now if you choose to add a little filling to your head, what I would suggest is taking some thread, wrapping it around your finger, and sticking it into the head. In fact, I will show you what I do a lot, because sometimes stuffing just shows through, and it's kind of not too nice to look at. So here's what I do is I'll take and wrap my finger around some string here to have whatever thickness I think I need. And this will help fill it up and give it whatever bulk you think it needs. There we go. Okay, so it's in there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that in there. I think it's fine. Now that my stitch marker is out, this one I noticed it opened up a little more, so let me grab another one, see if this one... Okay, so this next row we're going to do 1 half double crochet in each stitch around. Try not to pick up that stuffing thread you just shoved in there if you did that. So here's 1. Oh, and the rest of the making of this, after we get through this initial part, we will not be using a stitch marker. So this is only to get it started here. So continue around with the 7 half double crochet and I'll meet you there. Okay, so I've done 6 stitches because on my 7th one I'm going to change colors. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker. And I want to show you how we're going to do this. The center stitch right here above the eyes is where we're going to change our color for the little spots or diamonds, whatever you want to call them. Okay, so yarn over, and this is the 7th stitch. Okay, I got the 3 loops on my hook. Bring the yarn forward. Now I'm going to pick up my yellow and orange here. Okay, just set them right here. Yarn over and bring them through all 3 loops. And then take your red and snug up some of the loops that you have here. Okay. And then tighten that orange up a little bit. Now into that next stitch, we're going to do a 2 half double crochet bobble stitch. It's a fun stitch. Now it's going to be a little cumbersome because the hole is so small. So yarn over through the next hole and under the tails, bring up a loop, yarn over through 2 and stop. Okay, notice how I picked up the tails and did stitching over the top of it so it wouldn't fall out. Yarn over into the same hole, pull up a loop, yarn through 2, loops on the hook, so you see you have the 2, and then yarn over. Oh, don't even do that. Take the yellow and bring it to the front, and now pull up the red and pull it through to finalize that stitch. And then take the yellow and orange and pull it down just a little bit, and then bring them both to the back. Now sometimes what I like to do is in the very next stitch, I like to stitch over it, and that helps lock it all down. Okay, so that locks it all down, and then I'm going to push it to the back. So we're going to continue with our half double crochets around, and this process that I'm showing you is going to be similar to what we're going to do as we go along. We're going to go around so that we have 2 rows of red, and then the 3rd row will be the bobble orange and yellow. So we're just going to start half double crochet around, each stitch, Okay, so here we are at the bobble. You want to make sure you place a stitch in that orange stitch, the orange and yellow stitch, because that is part of the stitch count. Okay, and then on around again. Now when we get to the center back on this particular row, we're going to have an increase. So we'll have 2 half double crochets on the center back. So here we are at the center back. Okay, if we fold this in half where our eyes and our diamond is, this next stitch will be my center back. So I want to place 2 half double crochets in that same stitch. This will help allow an additional stitch that we will need to make it increase in width. Okay, and then we're going to go around again. We're not going to change color this row because this is going to be our second row. Okay, see we have 1. We're coming around. This is going to be the second. You see why it's easier to have that little cardboard there? Now, to me, this is fun. I enjoy this because it's a little challenge and it's a little different than the normal count. Keeps me interested, and I find this extremely fun to do. Okay, now the next time we come around, we're not going to add any increases, but when we get close to the diamond, we're going to change colors. So here we are. Here's our increase. So we're just going to place 1 on each one of those. All right. We're just past the center back. Now as we come up to our diamond here, we want to make it so that the diamond is going to be over the top of the previous diamond. It might not be exact, but that's okay. And there's going to be times where you're probably going to have to pull your stitching out because of a color change, but it's okay. It's okay. All right, so we got 1 row red, 2 row red. So that means we're going to do a color change. Okay, so that means that this one will get the color change. So the next stitch is where we need to start the color change. Okay, so I got 3 loops on my hook. Bring the red forward. The tail, let's do the stitch first. The tail will be shoved inside, and then we'll pull the yarn through. Oh, and I got a mess here. Isn't that something? Okay. So we want to snug up any looseness from the stitch and into the next stitch. Now don't go over the tail, just go over the red. We're going to do a 2-stitch bobble. 2 half double crochet bobble stitch. So here's 1 and here's 2. Oops, don't pull it through. Bring it forward. And then pull it through with the red. Okay, and then tighten up the slack. Bring it down so that the orange is ready for the next stitch, and then half double crochet over the top of that. Okay. So to recap, we did our bobble stitch, we went around. Remember, this is in a spiral, so as we come around, we're going to pass over once. In the back of that pass over once, we're going to increase in the center back, we're going to come around and come around again, and then just before the color needs to change above each other, we want to change the color and then do the 2 half double crochet bobble stitch. Before you complete it, change your color, and we're going to repeat this process for a total of, I believe it's 8 rows. Let me stop the video right now and verify that. Let's use our snake to verify it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to do it for 7 bobbles. And you notice how there's 2 rows in between each one of them. Okay? And you'll notice too that it's gotten wider. Down here it's pretty narrow. So every time you're going to add a stitch increase just that one time. Okay? And it'll get wider and wider and wider. So we're doing this for a total of 7 2 half double crochet bobble stitch. You'll notice the next one is 3, and that's going to be a whole different ball game then. So increase it all the way up to the 7, and then we will move on, and the directions for this will be different. So before we move on any further, let me just check one more thing in my instruction. Okay, I double checked. So by the time we hit the 7th bobble stitch on the 2nd row, or the beginning of the 2nd row, we should have a total of 14 stitches around. Okay, so I'm going to have you pause your video and do just what we've done, but note that you're going to be increasing, so our little guy's going to be getting a little bit bigger around. He'll be the same width as the head when you hit the 7th one. Okay? If you have a problem, please go back to where we started the bobble stitch, because we did 7. We did our bobble stitch. We went around. We came around again. And on that first pass, we had the increase. Then we came around and then came around again and changed our colors. So 7 of these little bobble stitches. After you complete those, I'll meet you there. That didn't take long now, did it? So here I am on the 2nd row. I've done my 7 bobbles. So I'm going to meet you around when it's time to make another bobble. I do have 14 stitches around. So let's meet right here, where we are going to change the rules on making our next rows. So what we are going to do now is we will not do the increase on the red. We're going to keep it at 14 stitches continuously, but our bobble stitch will change. We're going to go to 3 on the bobble stitch with our half double crochets. So to do that, I've already changed my color. Let's pull up. We have 1, 2, and in that same spot, 1 more. Okay, so we have 4 loops on our hook. Let's drop our yellow. I'm going to snug that up just a little bit. And then continue around. So for our 3 half double crochet bobbles, we're going to be doing that a total of 16 times. 16 times. And no increases. You're going to go ahead and do the 2 rows like we've been doing, just that every bobble will be 3. Okay, continue until you have 16 3 bobbles. Now here's number 1. These are 2 bobbles, so those are we're done with those. So 16 of these, and it will probably be about 18 inches from here to there. When we are done with our snake, it should be about 22-23 inches. So we're going to add another 18 inches of 14 stitches in our spiral with the bobble stitch right there in the middle. Continue on until you reach the 16th one and do your 2 row spiral, and then I will show you the decreasing that we're going to do to finish our snake's tail. Well, my snake is so big it barely fits in the screen. So here's the head, and here's the body. This didn't take too long, but what I did here is I placed a stitch marker so that I could count the 16 little spots that I needed to get down here to the end. And when I stopped, you can see, let me realign my light and everything. You can see how I stopped where I'm going to be adding the next little bobble here. So let's get started on doing that. We are almost done. We probably have about maybe 20 more rows, so probably about 4 inches, I guess, and then we'll be done with our little snake. So let's get started on that. So this time we are going to do decreases on the same row that we do the bobbles. Before we did the increases on the alternate row. Well, this time we're going to keep it all on the same row. So here I have the bobble. This is where I'm going to place it in at. And so that means the one before is my color change. So we're going to do 3 bobble, the 3 half double crochets. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm just going to throw it to the back so that way I don't twist my yarn all up. Okay, and then tighten it. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do, let's see, how many did I say? I got my instruction sheet over here. We want to go to the back, so we're going to probably do about 6 half double crochets around, and then we'll do our decrease stitch. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now do you remember how to do your decrease stitch? We're keeping it simple here. Okay, so we got our next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then just go immediately into the next loop and pull up another loop. Okay, so we'll have 4 loops on our hook, yarn over through all of them, and that decreased our row now by 1. And then we're going to go around twice, and so for the next, let's see, 3 bobbles. Okay, so the next 2 more of these we're going to be decreasing. So the next row, after your bobble, you'll do 5, and then the next bobble you'll do 4, and then do your decrease. But we're still going to go around twice, so we have that separation right here. So keep on going around, and we'll do that so that we have the decrease 1, 2, and 3. And I'll meet you there, and we'll change the size of our bobble as well. So I've placed my stitch marker for the 3 that I was going to decrease. So we had 14 here. That means this row was 13, 12, and 11 stitches. If you don't have the same amount of stitches that I have, that's okay. When we go around on one of these other rows, you can decrease there. So I'm at the point of where I need to change my color for my little bauble. So instead of 3 bauble, we're going to make it 2. And we're going to do this for 2 of these bauble rows. So we're going to do a decrease also. So here I got 2. And change my color back. So we're going to do a decrease for these 2 rows. So when you are finished with these 2 rows, this one will make it 10, and the second 2 bauble will make it 9. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll change our bauble size again. It just dawned on me. After you do your 2 bauble, do 3 stitches and then do your decrease. Let's see, I did 1, 2, 3. I did 4. So let me back up here. So do 3 half double crochets and then do your decrease, and then however many is around, just keep on going around until you have to do your bauble above the other one again. And then when you do the next 2 bauble, do 2 stitches and a decrease, and then do your 2 rows, and I'll meet you there. I want to point out a tip. As I am curling around and this is getting smaller, stick your finger in it and stretch the hole just a little bit, and then put your finger inside the hole if you hold your work like I do, and that way as you go around and do your stitching, you can go directly into those stitches without having to hunt for them, and it just seems to go around nice and smoothly. Just a little tip. Pretty soon we'll be at the end, and we will be going down to 4 stitches, just like when we started with the nose. So don't frustrate yourself. We're almost at the end. I want to make some suggestions that could help. And if your finger doesn't fit, you can always put like a pencil or a straw or something like that to help make it easier for you. So I completed the 2 baubles. I'm at the point of where I'm ready to change my next color. So what I'm going to do, instead of doing a bauble stitch, we're just doing 1 half double crochet. Okay, so you have the 3 on your hook. Go ahead and drop your color and pick up your main color again, which for me is the red, and complete your half double crochet. Remember to adjust the tension and continue on. So we're going to do this 1 half double crochet as our color change for 2 sets. What I mean by that is we're going to do this, come around, decrease in the back, go around twice, change your color, 1 half double crochet, decrease, go around twice, and by that time you should have 6 stitches left, which you're probably going to be cussing and hollering at me, which I'm okay. I'll be able to hear you. Oh no, she got me down to that many stitches. Ah! But look at it this way, we're almost done. When we get down to 6 stitches, we'll have 4 rows left to do, and then you'll be happy. So let's go ahead and do that. Decrease, 2 rows, change color, decrease, 2 rows, and I'll meet you there. We're almost done. Now before it gets a little too tight, this little hole we have here, let's go ahead and take our string for our different color and cut it about 4 inches. And I'm just going to take it and kind of coil it up and stick it in the hole. This is for a decorative item. It's not for children and stuff like that. So I don't see a problem just kind of sticking that in there. So I have one more row to do because I did the last half double crochet, so I got one row. So let me finish this row, and then we're going to start decreasing even more, and I'll tell you how to do that. Just a second. Okay, so here I am as if I was going to put a bobble in here. No more color changes, no more nothing. So this particular row, because we did the 2, you want to put a decrease right here in the back. Go around 2 more times, put another decrease, and by then you'll have 4 stitches. And you'll want to do 2 rows, and then we'll finish it. When you get to that point, do not cut your thread, because I'm going to make a very big suggestion on how we're going to attach this to our pot and how much string you're going to need. So go ahead and do that. Come around, decrease, wrap twice, decrease, wrap twice, and then we'll be done. But don't cut it. We'll get to that point. I'll meet you there. Now I find, I hope you're laughing with me, right? I find that in these last few rows, good lighting really helps. And the only reason why I have good lighting is because I'm making a video. So I am down to my 4 stitches and saying, please hurry up and let's finish this. Look at how small that thing is. Okay, well, I'm almost done. So let me see. I think I got 2 more. Yeah, because here's the center top. So here, let me do a couple more. Okay, I am done-o. Okay, now do not cut. Let me show you what we're going to do. So let me pull my camera out, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do here. Okay, so we are over here, and here's, you can see the string from my demo snake here. Okay, here's a lot of thread in there. What we're going to do is we need enough thread that will tack it here, tack it here, tack it here, and tack it here. But when we go from these various places, we want to make sure that we have enough string that we can go behind on the inside of the pot and tack it down, so we're not going through the snake, we're going through the pot to the snake. Okay, so I'm going to suggest you leave about 3 feet. That should be more than enough, but you want to make it too so that your stitches don't show through here. So I'm going to take, no, I didn't have it on my spools. I ran out of on my winding little cardboard thing, so now I have it coming off of the little cone things. So I should have more than enough here. And now we're going to come over here and pull all of that through. Okay, and now we will be ready to start sewing our snake to our pot. Are you happy your snake is done? I know I am. Oh, and if you're spinned and spiraled and all that stuff, that's normal. Don't think you did something wrong. It's just, that's just the nature of spiral going instead of slip stitch, chain 1, slip stitch. It's just that nature. But you'll find that even though it did spiral, it'll all still work with the pot with no problem. So let's get our pot up, and some straight pins. You'll notice here I have some quilting pins, or whatever kind of method you use to secure your work in place, and then we will be ready to sew it on. So let's get that stuff ready. Now do take note that as we play with the pot, it's not going to be 100% in the best of shape. So you're going to want to shape it as you go along. Okay, here's the hole. So we want to put the hole in front of us. And take your string, bring all that over here. Now I'm going to take the head. I'm going to go to the inside of the pot and bring the head through. Okay? And then what I did was I counted the 7, which was up to where it started to become the 3 bobble, and I stopped it right there. Okay, now even if you want to make it longer, this is your snake. Okay, and then we want to make it so it curves around nicely. And I'm just going to pin it for right now. Okay, and then the upper piece, making sure that you can kind of see your spots, we're just going to wrap it around however you think a snake should look. I might have to refer to my picture. And then just kind of wiggle in, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. All right, and once you decide how your snake is going to look, you want to find the places of where you want to attach it. Remember, our pot will be shaped when we're 100% done. So if you want to tack it here and tack it here, tack it here and here, that's fine. If you think you need more up front and you want to bring it around a little bit more so that the head has a little bit more character to it, you know, see how it has nice curve here and it's kind of tight here, so let's bring it up just a little bit. Okay, and remember this is all kind of pinned in place, so you can always reshape it. All right, it kind of looks like, let's see, where's the picture? That kind of looks like the picture. What do you think? So let's do that, and then we'll take our string, and wherever we decide this is going to end at, it's going to go right straight through, and then we'll come in on the back side of these stitches to where we want to tack it in place, and then you'll go across on the back side, tack it in place, on the back side, tack it in place, the back side, and tack it in place. Okay, so let me show you how I'm going to do that. But first, figure out how you want this to look first. I know I said it a couple of times, but it is important so that you're happy with the overall look of how this snake is going to be weaving itself in and out of this. So play with it a little bit, adjust your pot, because you know handling it is going to cause it to become distorted like this. Have it so it's going to give the final look before we manhandle this pot. All right, so let's take a few minutes for that, and then I'll show you how I'm going to tack it onto place. All right, I think I've manhandled mine enough, or I should say creative handling it enough. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my needle into between some of these stitches here and go onto the inside, pull all that string through. But what else I'm going to do too is I'm going to kind of tack it in place. So I'm going to go pick up a few stitches from the back. See how I have a number of stitches here that I've picked up right here, and pull it through. Now remember, you got all that string to pull through too. Might get snagged on a few things. So let's go through that a couple of times. That'll help hold it in place. Okay, the next place I want to go to is right here. So if I pinch my finger down where I want it to go, I can see and feel that needle. So I'm just going to pick up just one strand because it is double. Okay, to the location that I want to go to. And you want to kind of not have too much exposed, because if you have something in here, you don't want it to snag. So here's where my pin is. So I'm going to go ahead and come to the front. Take my pin out and see how I want it. I want to puff it up just a little bit. And if holding it down that way holds it, that's what I'm going to do. But also I find that up here will be nice to hold it up there too. So this is also where I'm going to tack it down as well. All right, so I got those two tacked down. So on to my next place, which will be right up here. So let's see, my pin is right here. So I want to come this way. I think you get the idea of what we're going to do and how I'm holding mine down and how you can hold yours down. So I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and finish all the way up to your head, tie it off on the inside, and we will call it finished. So I'm at the point of where I've tacked down my head. So I'm just going to take this and go through the back of a couple of these. You may find that, like me, I have quite a bit of string left over. I'd rather have too much than not enough, and I hope you don't think we're being wasteful. So let's go ahead and just do some like half hitch knots here, and then we can take our finished string. We'll go over a couple of stitches. Oops, I hit my light. Okay, and then come and pick up one, and then you can go back. And we're going to do this a couple of times because this is thread. And the reason why I suggest picking up the one, because if you go back through the same hole, you'll lose your weave. So here I'm over here. I don't want to go back through the same hole. I'm going to pick up one over here. And then you see how I'm going to go a little bit further this time. And I'll pick up one and come back. We can go through the same area. And I think that'll hold it in place. Okay, that looks like it's good and secure. Now for all of the shaping, and you can do that too. Now don't mind all of this over here. But here, let's do the aha moment of what I have done for my snake. Okay, I have it on a cake turner thing here. So what do you think? I know we all have our ideas of how the snake should look. I hope you enjoyed this little craft project. I enjoyed it a lot. And let me get my other one up here. You know, I have 2 of them. And that's the reason why it took me so long to get this done. I had so much fun planning and playing with this snake. Believe me, I did a lot of frogging, a lot of everything. So I hope you enjoy making this and find it to be useful for either placing, you could stick probably a pot in it if you want and have flowers coming out, or place your, here I got my pen, I can put my pens in it. Whoops, let me show you my flamingo pen. Or you could, I mean, you could probably put, well, crochet hooks will sink in. It's too tall for crochet hooks. Whatever you choose to do with this, I really hope that you like it and enjoy it. It was a fun project. So, till next time, bye-bye, and come and see me again. We'll have another fun crochet project to do, or maybe even from the knitting machine. So till next time, take care.